former special counsel Jack Smith pressed on his decision to indict President Trump. Republicans taking aim today how Jack Smith responded, and Democrats reading quotes from Republican leaders and what they said about President Trump in the hours after January 6th.
This is absolutely devastating. Jack Smith just testified publicly for first time, and what he said under oath has destroyed every defense Trump relied on for 3 years, every claim of witch hunt, every assertion of political persecution, every argument about no evidence, all obliterated, because Smith didn't just defend his investigations. He systematically laid out proof that Donald Trump is the person who caused January 6th, that it was foreseeable to him, that he sought to exploit the violence, that he engaged in unprecedented criminal scheme to block peaceful transfer of power, and he said this under oath, before Congress, on camera, creating permanent record that contradicts everything Trump has claimed. And Trump's final defense just crumbled because you cannot make sworn testimony disappear, cannot erase conclusions of 2-year federal investigation, cannot delete evidence Smith documented. And here's what makes this catastrophic for Trump. Smith testified while Trump was watching live, and Trump melted down in real time, posted on Truth Social calling Smith deranged animal, demanded prosecution, called for Attorney General to investigate, complete panic, because Smith wasn't defensive, wasn't apologetic, wasn't backing down. He stood by every decision, defended every charge, named specific witnesses, described evidence in detail, and declared he will not be intimidated despite Trump's threats. That testimony is now permanent record, historical documentation, evidence that will outlast Trump's presidency. And Trump knows what that means. Knows his legacy is defined by Smith's sworn statement that he caused January 6th, that he engaged in criminal conspiracy, that prosecution was justified and conviction achievable. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe Patrick Smith Show because you might think you are, but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. All right, let's get into what actually happened. House Judiciary Committee held oversight hearing Thursday, January 22nd. Jack Smith's first public testimony about Trump investigations. Chairman Jim Jordan, Trump loyalist, thought he could use hearing to discredit Smith, to prove investigations were politically motivated, to show weaponization of Justice Department. Instead, Smith spent 5 hours calmly destroying every Republican attack, systematically defending every decision, and making unequivocal statement that stunned room. Quote, "Our investigation revealed that Donald Trump is the person who caused January 6th, that it was foreseeable to him, and that he sought to exploit the violence," unquote. Those exact words, under oath, permanent record. Share this video with everyone you know because Smith explained what that means. Said Trump was not looking for honest answers about whether there was fraud in election, was looking for ways to stay in power. And when people told him things that conflicted with staying in power, he rejected them or chose not to contact people like that. That's consciousness of guilt. That's documented criminal intent. That's prosecutor putting on record that Trump knew he lost, knew fraud claims were false, pursued them anyway to overturn legitimate election results. Think about what that does to Trump's defense. For 3 years, Trump claimed he legitimately believed election was stolen, that he was pursuing fraud allegations in good faith, that attempts to challenge results were constitutionally protected. But Smith's testimony under oath says investigation proved otherwise, proved Trump knew better, proved he was manufacturing claims to maintain power, proved entire post-election scheme was criminal conspiracy, not legitimate legal challenge. And Smith named witnesses who told Trump the truth. Georgia's Secretary of State who informed him claims were false, put him on notice what he was saying wasn't true. Trump continued anyway. That's not good faith belief, that's deliberate fraud. Now let me walk you through why this testimony crumbles Trump's final defense. Smith said investigation developed proof beyond reasonable doubt that Trump engaged in criminal activity. That team was ready, willing, and able to go to trial, had evidence to convict, followed facts and law. Where they led was to indictment of unprecedented criminal scheme. And only reason case didn't proceed to trial was Justice Department policy prohibiting prosecution of sitting presidents. Not because evidence was weak, not because charges were baseless, Because Trump won re-election before trial could happen. That destroys claim investigations were partisan hoaxes. If it was witch hunt, why did Public Integrity Section review decisions? Why did grand juries indict? Why did Smith testify he'd prosecute again today, regardless of whether president was Democrat or Republican? Make sure you're subscribed to Patrick Smith Show because Smith detailed the criminal scheme. Said Trump attempted to induce state officials to ignore legitimate vote counts, manufactured fraudulent slates of electors in 7 states, pressured Vice President Pence to violate his oath, directed angry mob to Capitol to obstruct certification. That's not political speech. That's criminal conspiracy, federal crimes. And Smith testified some of most powerful witnesses were Republicans who voted for Trump, campaigned for him, then told truth about what he did. That's devastating because it's not Democrats making accusations, it's Trump's own supporters documenting crimes. And Smith reminded committee that 140 law enforcement officers were injured during January 6th riot, said Americans should never forget that, said rioters Trump pardoned are dangerous to their communities, that some already committed crimes again, that reasonable people know there will be more crimes in future. That's direct attack on Trump's pardons. On his claim January 6th, defendants were political prisoners. Smith putting on record they were violent criminals who assaulted police, and Trump freed them despite knowing their threats to public safety. Think about Trump's reaction during testimony, posted that deranged Jack Smith is being decimated before Congress, called him deranged animal who shouldn't be allowed to practice law, said he destroyed many lives under guise of legitimacy, then demanded Attorney General look at what Smith has done, hoped big price would be paid. That's desperation. That's knowing testimony is damaging and trying to intimidate prosecutor into silence. But Smith responded directly, said statements are meant to intimidate him, that he will not be intimidated, that statements are warning to others what will happen if they stand up, and he's not going to back down. Did his work pursuant to department policy, stands by every decision including decision to bring charges against Trump. That defiance is what makes testimony so powerful. Smith isn't cowering, isn't apologizing, isn't second-guessing prosecutorial decisions. He's stating under oath that investigation was legitimate, that charges were justified, that evidence proved Trump committed crimes, and he warned Americans not to take rule of law for granted, said he's seen how rule of law can erode, that we've seen it function so long, many take it for granted. But rule of law is not self-executing, depends on collective commitment to apply it, requires dedicated service especially when difficult and costly. Our willingness to pay those cost tests, commitment to rule of law and to country. Notice what that means for Trump's attacks. Trump trying to criminalize Smith's investigation, demanding prosecution, threatening retaliation, but Smith saying that's exactly the test. Whether prosecutors will stand firm despite intimidation, whether investigators will pursue facts despite political pressure, whether rule of law survives attacks from powerful people who think they're above it. And Smith's testimony is answer. He won't be intimidated, won't back down, won't let Trump's threats change what evidence showed. That's prosecutor defending rule of law against autocratic impulses. And it's happening under oath, on record, permanently documented. And Republicans couldn't break him. Representative Darrell Issa compared him to Nixon's men going after political enemies. Smith refused bait, said he pursued facts regardless of politics. Representative Jim Jordan accused him of trying to stop Trump from running in 2024. Smith explained timeline was driven by public's right to speedy trial, that Supreme Court precedent supports moving expeditiously, that duty required it. Every attack got systematic rebuttal. Every accusation got factual response. Republicans looked desperate. Smith looked credible. That contrast tells you everything. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because Democrats praised Smith's integrity. Representative Jamie Raskin said Smith pursued facts, followed every law and ethics rule, decisions reviewed by Public Integrity Section, acted based solely on facts opposite of Donald Trump, said Trump wants Smith in prison not because he did anything wrong, but because he did everything right, had audacity to do his job. That's accurate assessment. Trump punishing prosecutors for investigating crimes, for following evidence, for seeking accountability. Classic authoritarian behavior. and Smith's testimony documents it. Think about what Smith said about Trump being most culpable person. Representative asked why Trump was only defendant charged in January 6th case when indictment identified 6 co-conspirators. Smith explained team had proof to charge others, was in process of making determinations when work concluded. But Trump was charged alone because in Smith's estimation, he was person most culpable for crimes charged, most responsible, most deserving of prosecution. That's prosecutor saying Trump wasn't victim of conspiracy, wasn't targeted unfairly, was central actor, main perpetrator, person without whom January 6th doesn't happen. Share this video with everyone you know because Smith's testimony about witness intimidation is chilling. Said he had grave concerns about obstruction of justice, that Trump and allies attempted to obstruct during investigation itself, that election workers had lives turned upside down, received vile death threats because they were targeted by Trump and co-conspirators. Smith had duty to protect witnesses, concerns reaffirmed after securing indictments when Trump publicly attacked witnesses. That's prosecutor documenting ongoing criminal conduct, witness tampering, obstruction, all happening while Trump was under investigation and after charges were filed. And Smith explained non-disclosure orders for phone records. Republicans attacked him for obtaining toll records from sitting congressmen without notice. Smith said it was consistent with policy. Common investigative technique. Toll records don't include content of calls, just show who called whom and when, but necessary to understand conspiracy, to map connections, to prove coordination, and grave concerns about obstruction justified non-disclosure. If targets knew about subpoenas, they'd warn co-conspirators, destroy evidence, coordinate false stories. That's standard investigative practice being attacked as political persecution, and Smith's testimony exposed the bad faith. Notice how testimony affects Trump's legal position going forward. Cases were dismissed only because Trump won election, sitting president policy, but policy doesn't protect former presidents. When Trump leaves office, January 2029, prosecution can resume. Statute of limitations told during presidency. Evidence preserved. Witnesses documented, and Smith's testimony creates roadmap, establishes that investigation proved crimes, that charges were justified, that trial would have resulted in conviction, all under oath, all permanent record. Future prosecutors can cite Smith's testimony, can rely on his investigation, can pick up where he left off. Trump's final defense that investigations were hoaxes is demolished by prosecutors' sworn statement to contrary. Think about what Democrats demanded at hearing's end. Representative Raskin noted court order prevented Smith from addressing classified documents report. Asked committee call Smith back when judicial order expires, so he can testify about second half of work, about Mar-a-Lago case, about obstruction in documents investigation. Democrats want full accounting, complete testimony, every aspect of Smith's investigations documented under oath. And Jordan had to say they'll take it under advisement. Couldn't refuse outright, because denying would prove he's protecting Trump rather than seeking truth. Bottom line is this: Jack Smith testimony stunned because he stated unequivocally under oath that Donald Trump is person who caused January 6th. That investigation revealed Trump engaged in unprecedented criminal scheme to overturn election, that he sought to exploit violence, that charges were justified and evidence proved guilt beyond reasonable doubt, all said publicly, all on record, all contradicting Trump's 3 years of claims about witch hunts and political persecution. Trump's final defense crumbles because sworn testimony from special counsel destroys every argument. Can't claim no evidence when prosecutor testifies he had proof beyond reasonable doubt. Can't claim partisan motivation when public integrity section reviewed decisions. Can't claim good faith when investigation documented Trump knew fraud claims were false. Can't claim victim status when prosecutor explains Trump was most culpable person. Every defense obliterated by 5 hours of systematic testimony. And Trump melted down watching it happen, posted frantically calling Smith deranged animal, demanding prosecution, threatening retaliation, but Smith responded he will not be intimidated, stands by every decision, did work pursuant to policy. That's prosecutor refusing to back down despite presidential threats. That's rule of law surviving attack from authoritarian impulses. That's testimony that will outlast Trump's presidency and define his legacy. Regardless of what happens politically, regardless of whether prosecution resumes, history now has sworn statement from special counsel that investigated Trump for 2 years. Statement saying Trump caused January 6th, engaged in criminal scheme, committed prosecutable offenses. That cannot be erased, cannot be spun away, cannot be made to disappear. The testimony is permanent. The evidence is documented. The conclusions are sworn. And Trump's final defense that he did nothing wrong has crumbled under weight of prosecutors' oath. Watch for Trump to escalate attacks. Watch for demands that Pam Bondi prosecute Smith. Watch for attempts to discredit testimony. But it won't work, because Smith created record, defended every decision, named witnesses, described evidence, and declared he'd prosecute again today based on same facts. That testimony survives Trump's tantrums, survives political attacks, survives everything except truth. And truth is what Smith put on record. Donald Trump caused January 6th, engaged in criminal conspiracy, and would have been convicted if trial had proceeded. That's Smith's sworn testimony. That's what stunned Washington. That's what crumbled Trump's final defense. Stay tuned.